don't gotta be it.
Welcome everybody. This is Coach Kel, and this is the Jewels and Tools podcast, coming live and direct from the prayer closet today. We're gonna go ahead and get into it, but before I get started, I do want to get you guys to go ahead and get to know our social media. We are on IG at Jewels and Tools podcast. That's JEWELSNTOOLS podcast, of course. We're on IG. We also are on Facebook, so you can find our page under that same search and go ahead and like it so you can be updated whenever we drop the new podcast. And I do have a praise report. We are now live on iTunes podcast, so you can search us there as well. We are doing very well on Spotify and Anchor. So if any of those are your favorites, just go ahead and like and subscribe to us so you can go ahead and get the RSS feed so you'll get the podcast as soon as they come out. We're going to start to do, I think I'm going to step it up a little bit because I do have a lot and I'm getting a lot of feedback and people are getting hungry and want more information. So I'm going to try to actually start to do 2 podcasts a week. One podcast will be a short podcast, just a motivational push for the week, and then the second podcast we'll do our normal. And I actually got some guests that we're gonna actually have within the next couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about that, and I want you guys to be excited about it too. So to start off, we do have a lot to go over, but you guys know I'm a storyteller. So I'm going to start off with a story because we got a lot to talk about today. So when I was preparing to do this podcast, I was thinking about these 2 topics that are very near and dear to me, and I was going back and forth in between them. And at the same time, I was watching the Duke basketball game versus Michigan State. And we do know that Duke did lose. I was actually gonna, I figured that would be a good segue for me to touch on one of the topics that I wanted to talk about. So I actually had got my pen and pad, got my journal, and was actually writing out the flow of the episode, and writing out everything that I wanted to cover. And at the same time, I wasn't feeling well. I had a sinus infection, so I was just kind of in and out of sleep, writing it down, because I was going to do the podcast the following day. And I got online at Coach Kel Gaming. We are doing some gaming, but I'll get into that later. Got online and was playing my game, and one of my partners from out of the West Coast was like, dude, I got to get off right now. So I'm like, dude, what's wrong? He was like, man, I'll call you. So he hung up, and probably about 20 minutes later, he hit me back. He was like, dude, have you heard? I was like, what's going on? He was like, he gone. So as soon as when he said it, I started to think of maybe it was one of our partners that we're associated with. And I was like, man, because he was hurt. He was crying and carrying on. So I'm like, dude, who? Like, what's going on? And he was like, man, they killed Nip. So at first I was like, Nip? I don't know nobody named Nip. He was like, man, I can't believe they killed Nipsey, man. They killed Nipsey right in front of his store. And when he said it, something just grabbed me in my chest. For all of you who don't know, I'm quite sure that you heard the news if you don't know who Nipsey Hussle is. Nipsey Hussle, the news reports will say that he was a rapper, but he wasn't just a rapper. He was a young king. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, debating with another one of my good friends from out of California. We were talking about rap and lyricists. And I think we were having a debate between J. Cole and Kendrick. And another partner of his, just jumped in and was like, man, ain't none of them got nothing on Nipsey. And I was like, who? Man, Nipsey hustle, dude. So you know how the West Coast do it. They put on for Nipsey. So I said, all right, man, I got to go check this dude out. So a lot of times when I hear about new rappers, before I even listen to their music, I like to do some research on them, to really see if it's even something that I want to even listen to. So I was doing my research on the guy, and something popped out to me. They were talking about him and Tech, how social media savvy he was, and they were talking about how he did one of his first big mixtapes where he gave the mixtapes out for free, and then like 90 days later or something like that, he went and he sold, I want to say he did 100 for 100. And then if you bought one of the mixtapes for 100, he had a party at his store, and it was very exclusive. Then his next mixtape, he did the same thing, but this time he sold, I think it was 1,000 for 1,000. Or maybe it was 1,000 for 100 for 1,000. And the people who bought it got to have that same experience with him, with having a little party. And what stuck out to me, they was like, Jay bought 2 of them. So I was like, all right, if Jay bought 2 of his mixtapes, if he bought 2 mixtapes, I'm gonna check them out. And the first song that I played of his was Crenshaw and Slauson. The melody at the beginning just kind of caught me. I like melodies. I like instruments. And so I'm listening to this dude. I'm listening to his flow. I'm like, all right, he got some. He got some. And then he said a line that took me back. One thing that, anyone who knows me know I love music, and one thing that I say about music is that music is a real life time machine, because music has the ability to transport you consciously back to a situation to where music was present, or it's just like a smell. I think music and smells are 2 of the biggest things that can allow you to travel back in time and really encapsulate a situation. So on this line, he was like, we're gonna have a big house like Jamaican cuz. And he was talking about the dude off Belly. And I remember when I was younger, when Belly first came out, me and my brother, we used to sit on the car and talk about everything that we wanted in life, and have what we call those soul sessions. And I remember us talking about the house on Belly. So I was like, all right, let me do a full dive. And when I dove into this music, it was beautiful, because it matched me right where I was at that moment. I was at a pivotal point to where it was time for me to step out on faith and really start to grind the way that I know I needed to grind in order to create the legacy that I've been purposed to create. And his music was in that same lane. And for the next month or so, I just totally digested everything that I can get hands on of his music. And a little while later, my brother again, we were having a conversation, and he was like, dude, I listen to this every day. I listen enough every day just to keep me going, keep me grinding, keep me pushing. And he challenged me to do the same. So I hear this news and this clench in my chest. I'm just like, yo, I knew that my brother, I knew he was going to be down bad about it. He had actually made some connections and was actually going to be going out to California, and they were going to set something up for him and my brother to meet. And I didn't know this at the time, but I didn't call my brother then. I was like, nah, because I know how my brother is. I know how my brother was when Pop died at 96. So the first thing I did when I got up the next morning, I called him, and we talked for about 2 hours about the situation, about the loss, about his legacy, because that victory lap is strong, that marathon is strong, and I know. And I've been prayerful about his continued legacy. I'm not gonna get into the conspiracy theories or was it a government hit. I'm not gonna talk about whether it was just another case of senseless gun violence and black on black crime. What I'm going to talk about is the legacy. I will challenge everybody. One of my challenges for this week for you guys, for my listeners, is to go on YouTube and listen to any 3 Nipsey Hussle interviews. Any three. And it will motivate you. Nipsey motivated me like Eric Thomas motivates me. And I really think that was a big part of his legacy. I was telling my partners, I was telling them that Nipsey is an Eric Thomas for the hood. Nipsey died when he was 33. So if you're in your 20s and your 30s, it's nothing that this man is rapping about that you can't feel. Especially when he talk about how you supposed to be grinding all my life, and that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the grind. I want to talk about the legacy. I want to talk about finishing the marathon, and I want to talk about our community. One of the biggest obstacles that we have is that you would be very hard pressed to be able to go out and find yourself in a position to where you can keep clear vision, stay motivated, grind, and push your way through. This is for everybody. It's a daunting task. It's very tiring. You have to be equipped with certain things in order to do that. And this young man preached about those things. in a way to where no matter what walk of life that you were walking, you were going to be able to feel those words. When my brother walking to me when we were talking about it, he made the reference. He made a reference to Nipsey being like Pac and Malcolm. And sadly to say, it's true. At one point in my life, I could be considered a militant. I don't see myself in that frame anymore because God has bestowed some wisdom, and with wisdom comes understanding. And I understand some things. But one thing that became very relevant to me when I was a young man was that there has been a generational curse for people of color, especially men of color, who reach an apex that the system has been set to keep you away from. And this generational curse has been death by greatness. I just think about, I'm just going to name off a few. You got Pac. You got Big. Bob Marley. Malcolm. Martin. You got these individuals who, for all intents and purposes, they had a career model. But because their purpose and their thoughts of legacy drove them to go outside of that and be exposed to the masses, and all of them met the same fate. For a young individual growing up, on a subconscious level, we have to fight the thought that greatness comes with death. We have to fight the thought that greatness will end in an ultimate sacrifice. Because if we don't fight that subconscious seed and tear it out at the root, there might become a time in the future where we dumb ourselves down. And that's what I believe his legacy, part of his legacy was about, was not dumbing yourself down. Go out and live the way that you dream. But while you're going through the process of living the way that you dream, you can't get tired. You got to stay motivated. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep pushing. You can't stop. Ain't no days off. And we need to start having conversations on what we can do with each other to continue that legacy. Because I believe his legacy is directly attached to lineage. So I think the legacy thinkers of now are all part of that lineage, and we need to learn how to protect the legacy and then at the same time protect the lineage. Because not only did an entertainer died, a father died, a man who let a woman die, that all affects lineage and legacy. It robs us of purpose. You know, I'm challenging you all to, one, just find 3 Nipsey interviews and just look at them and jot your thoughts down in your journal and jot down how it motivated you. And then 2, I want you to start writing out ways, and this is just a continuous thing. Start to think about ways of how you can protect your lineage and your legacy, because you have to protect both. We have to protect both. We have to, me as a leader, it's my responsibility to protect the legacy and lineage of the individuals that I'm leading. And I think every person is a leader in some shape, form, or fashion. So all of us have to adapt this way of thinking of how we can protect the legacy and the lineage of those attached to us. I think that's a major key and a major step in the right direction. My prayers goes out to his family, for one. To his community. And then 3, his business partners. I pray that this does not turn into a situation to where the things that him and his team work so diligently to build falls by the wayside. And I'm praying for long suffering. I'm praying for peace. I'm praying for temperance. And I'm praying for guidance. And most of all, I'm praying that I've been introduced to the California culture through some great friends and great brothers of mine, and I understand how a situation like this can become very problematic for some great communities out in California. So I pray a hedge of protection over the entire community, the gangs and all, the people of the community, the leaders of the community. And I also pray that the truth will be revealed to the masses. And the masses use this truth to combat whatever caused this despicable act to happen, whether it is a conspiracy. If it is a conspiracy, I pray that it be revealed in a fashion to where it cannot be denied. If it was just another case of black on black crime, I pray that the facts be revealed, and I pray that we take this situation and use it as a building block to protect our communities and our community leaders all in one. I'm gonna stop there with that piece, because I'm actually gonna do another segment on the second podcast for this week, And I should have someone who's gonna do the podcast with me, who can provide some very brilliant insight and on what it takes to be the type of man that Nipsey was. So I'm gonna stop there. Once again, my prayers goes out to his family and his community, and his business partners. So, creative cultivation. Try to pep up a little bit. Creative cultivation. So, we've been talking about what creative cultivation is, and it's just creating the surroundings that you need in order to be successful, and really learning how to cultivate the garden of your mind. We've been talking about a lot about thoughts, and how thoughts can keep you away from your goal or bring you closer to your goal. We talked about the SOAR method, which is the situation, the obstacle and objectives, then the awareness, and then the action, and then the results. We talked about that last, and I challenge you guys to, if anything that you guys have been working on for the next couple of weeks, or actually the next 14 days, to actually use that method to actually start getting some small wins. I actually got some reports. We're actually going to do that one on the next, because one of the things about the smaller podcast, that's going to be a podcast all about praise reports. So this week, I want to talk about something, because for the month of April, we're really going to do a deep dive into fear. I've coined fear as being feelings engulfed around ruin. We're not going to get deep into that today, but fear is your feelings engulfed around ruin. Now, before I get into the fear, and it kind of ties back to a lot of the situations that have been happening on an international level. We see it a lot. We've been warned about it. But today, what we're going to talk about the curse of comparison. And I'll repeat that again. We are going to talk about the curse of comparison. So, as always, I got to start off with a story. So, I myself have been victimized by this curse. I can remember I might have been like 19 or 20. Had to be 20. It was my sophomore year in college. And no, I was 19. It was my sophomore year in college, and I kind of hit a wall. The wall that I hit, it had become very relevant that in order for me to be successful, I knew that I now had to not only outwork, but work 2 times as hard, stay out of trouble, be smart, be intelligent, never put myself in compromising positions in order to reach a level of success that I wanted for myself, and that many of the people that I knew had contact with would never have to do the same thing. And I became very frustrated, which actually led to what I believe to be one of my first bouts with depression. And what had gotten me so in myself was that it had become very evident that I was working my butt off to survive at FAMU in Tallahassee, working my butt off, working full time, going to school time, and living like a peasant, just about. And then I was able to see other people who weren't in school, who weren't working, who weren't doing anything with their lives, seemingly were in a better position than me. And it bothered me because, and the reason why it bothered me was because one mistake that I had was that I was a victim of romanticizing the Christian lifestyle. I believe I allowed myself to take on a belief that if I did everything correctly, if I tried my hardest not to sin, if I prayed every day, and if I didn't do the things that other people who were deemed as bad or sinners, if I didn't do those things and I didn't do those things openly, that my life would be good. That's a lie out of the pits of hell. That's not how that works. Okay? So I had a conversation with my mom, and I was just crying out to her. And I was like, I just don't understand why, I'm living like this, and, this person doing this person doing that. They got this, they got that, and I'm over here struggling. And I ain't gonna say exactly what my mama told me, but she was having one of her Reba moments. She basically told me that, basically I was being soft, and in a nice dumbed down, sweeter version, that I was being soft, and that in order to get what I wanted, I had to do it like this. I had to work 2 times as hard, because that's what life can be about. It ain't about comfort. So for maybe like the last 2 weeks, this has really been on my mind a lot, because just in general conversations that I've been having and situations that I've been through over the last couple of months, I'm really seeing that people are finding themselves stuck in prisons that they create themselves, and most of the bars of that prison are made up of the spirit of comparison. A lot of people don't know this, or maybe have never even thought about this in this way, but comparison is actually a byproduct of fear. And it actually will bloom itself into a full-blown on spirit, to where you will constantly find yourself comparing what you do, what you have, how you live, how you exist, what you do, based upon other individuals. And right now, this is at an all-time high, because there was a point of time where you might not have known what someone was doing unless you were directly connected to them. But now with social media, I've actually seen people comparing their lives and their lifestyles with other individuals that they have never even seen, talked to, know, and there's no 6 degrees of separation. Because we have these social media platforms to where you can get these glimpses of people's lives. But the thing about it is that the way that social media is set up is that the draw to social media is that you control the narrative. I can be dead broke, butt naked, and starving. But if I put myself in the right situation, stand in the right spot, take a picture, I can make you and fool you into believing that I'm a millionaire. All I gotta do is, I live in Tampa. If I want to, all I gotta do is go stand outside a Burns Steakhouse, not go in, and take a picture. I'm eating good. How you eating? These are the things that are going on social media. And people are finding themselves comparing themselves to these images, to where the narrative is controlled by someone that you might not even be connected to. See, comparison is a seed of thought that can bloom into a Venus flytrap that can rob you of your purpose. We all know how the Venus flytrap works. The Venus flytrap, it opens up. It's green on the outside. It got these crazy little tentacle teeth things, but the way that it catches flies is remarkable. One, it opens itself up, right? It hides away what it really is. And what it shows the flies, is this bright red flesh, right? And then what it does, it secretes a byproduct that is sweet like honey, right? So that's what attracts the flies. But when you get up close to it and you really start to look into it, it traps you, it suffocates you, and then it melts you down and digests you. This is what the spirit of comparison can do to each of us if we are not mindful of what comparison is and what comparison does. Comparison, I'm going to go over some things where we're going to go over the fruit of comparison. But before I go over the fruit of comparison, I first need, I believe in understanding before you can take action. So you yourself might be in a spirit of comparison and might not even know it. So I'm going to give you 2 keys to know if you're in a spirit of comparison. Because spirit of comparison always starts off with 2 questions. Those 2 questions are, why don't I have what some other people have? If you're asking yourself that, if you are going through your day and you're asking yourself, okay, why don't I have that? You are dangerously close to being caught in the Venus flytrap of comparison. The second is, what am I doing wrong? Once again, the second question is, what am I doing wrong? Now, the first question, why don't I have what someone else has? This question in itself leads to you putting yourself in a position to sell yourself short. Okay? The second question, what am I doing wrong, leads to self-doubt, and unfaithfulness. All right. So these are the fruits of comparison. One, it robs you of your purpose. If you are constantly thinking about what someone else has versus what you have, how are you putting positive energy into attaining the things that you want? See, this thing is all about energy and time. Life is all about energy and time. If I want to live a successful lifestyle, if I want to acquire the tangible equivalents of living and being successful, I do not have the time to waste and the energy to waste on thinking on why someone else has something that seems attractive. This will rob you of your purpose. Second thing, the second fruit of comparison is that it will lead you to feelings of unworthiness. If you ain't careful, you could be sitting on IG looking at all the dolled up girls, looking at all the dolled up dudes, and you will start to encapsulate in your mindset that I don't look like them. I don't wear what they wear. I don't have what they have. Their life is popping. If I don't have what they have, my life is not popping. I'm losing. They're winning. I'm losing. You have to be very careful. You have to keep yourself guarded. You will start to feel unworthy just by comparing yourself to others and comparing what you have to others and comparing to how other people operate versus how you operate. It's a very slippery slope. Now, you've been robbed of your purpose. You're starting to feel unworthy. Self-doubt is next. Now you start to adapt the attitude that, okay, since I'm not doing these things, I can't do things. I can't do this. Why am I even working this hard? That was the trap that I almost fell into. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I grew up on 2600 Boulevard and on Burke Street. Everybody, from the exception of successful individuals who were like connected to my family and my church, everybody else that I ever saw that ever had money and great material wealth was dope boys. So at one point in my life, I argued with God and got mad with God because I was just like, God, I'm going to school and I ain't got no car. They selling dope and they got a new Bubba Impala with 24s. What is going on? What is this about? Self-doubt. That whole wrestling with trying to understand why I don't have something and somebody else has something, you will never be able to figure it out. You will never be able to really figure out that truth. So you're just wasting time. And when you do that, it tears away out you. And to the point to where you begin to doubt self. Now, if you're already in self-doubt, the next thing we already know what it is, unfaithfulness. This spirit of comparison will cause you to become unfaithful. It'll cause you to become unfaithful to yourself and in all your relationships. I will say that again, in all of your relationships. I just talked about how I was wrestling and arguing with God about me struggling and dope boys seemingly living good. That actually caused me to step away from the Christian lifestyle. And I started to put myself in compromising positions like, yo, maybe I could just go there and hit this little lick right quick, and ain't nothing wrong with it. On faithfulness. Even in my pastor said this before I got married, and now that I am married, it's a barometer for me, and I make sure that I keep it in check at all times. Before individuals start to cheat in their intimate relationships, they first start to compare. They start to compare what their mate has and does and might be potential to be. They start to compare that with other individuals who they might have an attraction to. Man, my lady dark skin, but boy, you know I like them red bones, boy. You know them red bones, da 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 da. That starts that seed right there can destroy a marriage. Can destroy any relationship, even friendships. If you rocking with somebody and you start to compare, and this is the kicker. When you start in relationships, when you start to compare what you do for someone versus what they do for you, oh, you done for. Stick a knife in you, you're done. Even now, I still have a problem with that with my wife. Somewhere in my mind, there is a chalkboard with checks on it. One side is hers, and then on my side it say winner, and then it's everything that I'm doing versus everything that she's doing. And I now have to make a conscious effort to keep that board erased, because I'm a giver. My wife is a giver as well. She gives one way, I give another way. But at times I only hold valuable. Sometimes we can only hold value in the ways in which we operate. So when we're dealing with relationships, we would start faulting people for not being who we are. If that was the point, if that was the case, if you're gonna fault somebody for not being who you are, why even be relationships? Stay in the house all day. Be by yourself. If you're that great, be by yourself. And I have to constantly remind myself of that in my relationship. So I know that can lead. That can be a seed of actual unfaithfulness. So we have to check that in all of our relationships and everything that we do. We have to check this spirit of comparison. Now, this spirit of this spirit of comparison, the curse that it actually brings about is covetousness. I'm just gonna let that sit there. I'm just gonna sit there for a second. I'm just gonna take everything that I said into this point and listen to what I said. The curse of comparison is the birth of covetousness. Now, if you are not a person who might be biblically strong or anything of that nature, or if you just don't, you've heard the word and never really thought, well, hey, what's covetousness? I am actually going to give you a definition of it. So, coveted is to yearn or to possess or have something that is not owned or possessed. That's what it is to covet. Now, the reason why comparison births covetousness is because it puts you it bears the fruit that we just talked about. It bears the fruit of unworthiness. It robs you of purpose. It leads you in self-doubt. It leads to unfaithfulness. And those things, when you put all those things together, you will actually start to conspire against who you are as an individual to obtain what someone else seemingly has. So basically, you erase who you are to be somebody else. And that's not, you were created to be yourself. You were not created to be and have what someone else has. Point blank, period. Now, the 10th commandment is thou shalt not covet. I'm just to all you biblical scholars, I'm keeping it dumbed down. I'm not saying the scripture by scripture. I'm not doing that. For my listeners, I'm telling you, the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. You shall not covet. Now, before we get to the 10th, I'm going to give you a quick little jot of the first 9. And then we're going to talk about why thou shalt not covet is actually the first one. You should not have any other gods before me. Number 1. Number 2, you shall make no idols. Number 3, you should not take the Lord's name in vain. Number 4, keep the Sabbath day holy. Number 5, honor your father and your mother. Number 6, thou shalt not kill. Number 7, you shall not commit adultery. Number 8, you shall not steal. Number 9, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbors. And lastly, number 10, you shall not covet. Now, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in the Bible or not, this right here, these 10 rules of engagement, they are so simplistic and they're so simplistic and so complex at the same time. Now, throughout me talking about the curse of comparison, whether you know it or not, I actually covered all of the 9 commandments when talking about the questioning and when talking about the fruits. So to me, to understand this is a great commandment, because this one commandment, I think all the commandments are interlocked. The commandments have lineage. But this one commandment, if broken, can result in all the other 9. Now, I talked about how I was wrestling with, all right, God, why are you doing this? Or why is this person living better than what I'm living and I'm connected to you? At one point in my life, I'm pretty sure that God felt, and I ain't gonna even use it. I'm 100% sure that I had put other gods before my God, because I was trying to live a way that seemingly looked appetizing. So I stepped off of my foundation that was built for me as a child to be God-fearing, and I said, "No, I'm going out in the wilderness. I'm finna go do the damn thing." I did that. Now, doing that process, guess what? When you're in the wilderness, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be running after idols. And I'm running after idols that I'm seeing other people praise. We have to be careful, because when we're comparing ourselves to other people, you will mess around and you will start praising something that you never even had a passion for, just because you're comparing yourself to someone else. That should not take the Lord's name in vain. I done snapped a couple times with God. Just out of frustration. Out of feeling like, out of the covetousness also brings on the overwhelming thought of unfairness. Once you start to compare and you start to covet, ain't nothing gonna be fair in your life. Keep the Sabbath day holy. If you worried about how one person is living their life and you try to emulate what they're doing, guess what? You might not be there to keep your Sabbath day holy. You're not going to be present. You're not going to be present. You are going to be encapsulated by what someone else is doing and how they moving. Hater. That's what you will become. Honor your father and thy mother. If you at any point in your life are comparing yourself to how someone else is moving, how someone else is winning, how someone else is succeeding and putting on airs, at some point you're going to have to make a decision. And a lot of times we make the decision to compromise our own principles and values and try to be like someone else. And when we go ahead and we compromise those principles and values, a lot of times, who were the individuals that established those principles and values? Our mother and our fathers, our parental units, the people who raised us. We put ourselves in a position to where we're not honoring them anymore because we moving how we think we should move in order to live and acquire what someone else has. Murder. We all have seen it before. Just think about yourself, how many people you know or have heard of or seen get murdered all simply because somebody wanted what they had. We see it all day. I grew up when people got shot and killed over joints and starter jackets. You wanting what somebody else have will lead you down the path of murder. Point blank, period. Adultery. I already told you about the spirit of comparison and what it does to relationships. We already covered that. Stealing. At some point, you'll start to compare and covet something so much that is by any means necessary. If you lie, you'll cheat, you'll steal, you'll kill. We all know it. Our grandparents raised up on that. If you lie, you'll cheat. And if you cheat, you'll steal. And if you steal, you'll kill. It's all there. It comes from comparing ourselves to others. And then, that should not bear false witness on a neighbor. A lot of the times when we are finding ourselves comparing ourselves to other individuals, especially when those individuals are connected to us, and that spirit ferments into you becoming a strong hater, or you gonna bear some false witness. You gonna lie on them. Oh no. No, they ain't no good. They ain't how they getting they. Oh, I know it. I know what she be doing. Yeah, we've all seen it. We've all been there. It's real, and it all starts with with allowing ourselves and our minds to drift to a place of comparison. Our mind is a very great complex thing. It's our greatest gift, but in order to control it, it's so simple. If you don't want to find yourself in any of these 9 positions, it starts with one thing. You control your thoughts. You make sure that you're not comparing yourself to anybody or anything. That's a waste of energy. That's a waste of time. And right now, your lineage and your legacy, they can't afford for you to spend that time and that energy doing that. So this week, I want to give out a challenge, and I want to bring out the real in the challenge. In your journals, I want you to start listing out the people you compare yourself to, the things that you feel like you deserve and that you don't have, and then 3, why do you find yourself comparing yourself to others? And I want you to go on to do that. Whenever you find yourself starting to live out the curse of comparison, I want you to go ahead and immediately write those things down. What am I comparing myself to? Who am I comparing myself to? What is the thing that I want? Why do I want it? Write those down, because like I said, you got to peel back the layers of the onion. If you start to compare, then in order for us to battle the curse of comparison, we first need to understand what's lacking. And the only way that we can find what's lacking is that you have to go through the process of understanding yourself and understanding, okay, why is it that when I see a girl on IG taking a trip to the Bahamas every 3 months, I get upset. We need to get to that root issue. Is it that you just want to go to the Bahamas? Because if it's simple as you just want to go to the Bahamas, okay, what can you do to get yourself there? That's easy. But if you find yourself in a position to where you can't write out why you compare yourself, that's where the real work needs to start. And if you do this challenge and you're having a hard time trying to figure out why you're comparing, you're in need of my services. We need to have conversation. You need some coaching. So we're going to wrap it up there. I done hit my hour mark. I be trying not to make it too long for you guys. That's why I'm doing the 2. I'm trying not to do hours no more. But as I thank you for listening. By all means, please make sure that you are subscribing and liking the podcast on Spotify, Anchor, SoundCloud. We even on SoundCloud, iTunes. I feel blessed that we actually got added to iTunes. That's big. That's really, really big. And make sure that you're following us on social media. Jewels and Tools Podcast on IG. Jewels and Tools Podcast on Facebook. And starting probably by the end of April, I'm actually going to start recording the live videos for the podcast, and you'll be able to see those on YouTube at Coach Kel. And that reminds me, one thing that I'm doing, I work with kids, and one thing that kids love to do, they love to play video games. I've always been a video game player. I always wanted to be a part of me. I always wanted to be like a professional video game player. When I was in college, I lost a lot of money. I also made some money playing Madden and NCAA. That was a part-time job. That was a part-time hustle. But it was before esports or anything got big. I get a lot of flack from my wife and my family about the time that I spend gaming and things of that nature. But I'm doing a rollout that I'm so very excited about. If you're listening to the podcast and you yourself, if you game and you want to actually be able to have an experience with me, an interaction with me, I do have a gaming channel. I have started going live on YouTube and Facebook, and also on Twitch. I'm going to start giving out more information on that. But right now, what I'm focusing the energy on, if you go to IG, you can actually check out the times that I will actually be online playing, and that's going to be at Coach Kel Gaming. So that's CoachKelGaming. You can see there to see what time they're going to be playing throughout. I usually play. I ain't gonna tell no lies. I play a lot. Go to IG and you'll see the times. I usually go ahead and send out like an alert post, usually before 30 minutes to 45 minutes before I get on. And then if you just want to listen in and check everything out, you can also go to YouTube when I go live and check us out there. And it's the same thing, Coach Kel Gaming on YouTube as well. And what I'm going to be doing with these sessions, if you get on and you have questions and you have a PS4, you can send me a friend request. My gamer tag is Coach KLLC. That's COACHKLLC. I'm on PlayStation, on the PlayStation Network. If you get on, what I'll do, let me know that you listen to the podcast. I'll go ahead and set up a party for us, and we can actually play some games. You can ask me some questions. I can provide you with some insight, and we can just talk about. We can talk about current events. We can talk about politics. We can talk about music. We could talk about community advancement. We could talk about your business goals. We could talk about your life goals. And that's just a free service that I'm going to be giving, just to connect with you all. And with that, if you have any teenage kids, especially if you have any I prefer the ages between like 12 and 18. If you have any kids and you want me to have some interaction with them to talk about their purpose and really see where they're at, what they want to do, and how I might be able to assist them, that's a great avenue for me to talk with the young adults and see what they have going on, see how I can assist them. One thing that I do have my own nonprofit. It's KEEP. It's the Kinetic Education Exposure Program. And if you're in the Tampa area or in Jacksonville, and we're trying to get it out to, I'm gonna work it out to where I have it in Orlando by the end of this calendar year as well, to actually start doing some more conferences. One of the goals that I have for 2019, I want to do a conference gonna do one in Tampa, gonna do one in Jacksonville, of course. I want to do one in Fayetteville. I'm also thinking Charleston, and wherever else you guys think this would be needed. I'm not limiting. I can't say that. I'm not going to limit myself. But that's one of my passions is all about. Is really providing our youth with the avenues of becoming successful and giving them, exposing them to what success looks like early, so they can actually take it upon themselves to develop their passions, their skills, and their talents to get to a point of success that is readily available for them. So in order to start that process, gotta have interaction. So if you guys want to have your kids send me friend requests, have them send me their friend requests at PS4, PlayStation only. I'm brand loyal, and it's Coach KLLC. A lot of Call of Duty. If they play Fortnite, I'm not the best at Fortnite. What I might have to do with the Fortnite, I might just have to talk to them and have my daughter play. She's a little bit better at the Fortnite than me. But by all means, connect with me, because like I say at the beginning, we need to start having conversations on how to protect our lineage and our legacy. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for listening. Once again, social media, hit us up. And until next time, live great and prosper.
I don't gotta be it.